CBS News.
The following program deals with a controversial subject. The theories expressed are not the only possible interpretation. The viewer is invited to make a judgment based on all available information.
We are live. Welcome back to This Week in Redacted, our weekly podcast where we talk about all the abnormal news from the week inside of top 5 categories from Reddit, starting with aliens, conspiracy theories, true crime, cryptozoology, and of course, the paranormal. I am Ryan Redacted, the resident skeptic at This Week in Redacted, and with me as always is Chris Redacted. Chris, how you doing?
Redacted, super believer. Sometimes doubter. I mean, lately I think we've been doubting a lot of things together.
Well, there's been a lot of things to doubt. Like you have to, look at a lot of the stuff that's been coming out with a skeptic's eye, at least to start off with, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's just so many things out there coming out that are just like really bad, and every week we're just like, I'm more agreeing with you. And it's getting kind of funny that I'm the believer. I'm like, no, that's really fake.
Well, here's the thing, right? It's really, and I've been thinking about this a lot lately too. It's really hard to find convincing evidence for any of this stuff, right? And that's one thing that we haven't done is we haven't set out sort of like a criteria for what would be evidence that, is generally accepted by a lot of people. And I think when you look at sort of like all the alien stuff that's been going on, right? Like it's very like if you look at the Reddits, if you talk to the true believers, they're very convinced by what I would consider weak evidence, which is testimonial evidence, right? So that's the word of another person.
Yeah, every week it seems like it's all testimonial. Every single day it's all testimonial, and it's just like the same thing over and over again. They keep recycling the same ideas. Everything keeps, repeating, and I think a lot of the stuff gets debunked like every other day, and I think we discussed a few weeks ago like what's going to be a criteria to put like whether it's like good or not. And I think didn't we say something that's just like um, decent video, because a lot of it is just recorded horribly. Um, multiple witnesses. I think we talked about too on that aspect, and even that it's like that's just bare minimum. Like just the age of technology. Uh, what was it, that Bigfoot video that we're going to discuss? Like it's not even in 1080p. I mean, everything
Right.
is so sophisticated now with phones, cameras, and whatnot. But I digress.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, it's not just with paranormal news. I mean, I was having a conversation with a coworker early in the week, actually 2 coworkers early in the week, just about how difficult it is to discern truth from reality in just the era that we live in, especially with all of the AI generated content, the deep fakes, right? I don't know if you saw, I don't think I sent it to you, but all these deep fake ads that are going around are just absolutely insane.
I mean, right now, what the deepfake, the rappers that they've been doing, like they've been producing like full on albums, and some of them are really catchy and they're really good. And I think the record companies are worried about that. Like you can't really tell the difference. Some of it is comical, but things like that start getting scary. You know, it's like movies, uh, music, everything, every aspect of media, even podcasts. It could, this eventually could turn into AI. You put everything you want it to do, and then eventually they make a podcast out of that, like out of AI, which is kind of something maybe we should look into.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, like, in all honesty, like someone is right now is scraping all of the podcasts, all of the YouTube content, and training AI models with it so that they can generate, just the form of the content out there. And for me, what the scary part is, this is the worst that the technology will ever be without government regulation.
Yeah, it's just going to get more sophisticated if it starts learning. It improves its algorithms. They remove all the restrictions and perimeters, and just give it complete power. It'll get kind of scary with the whole. I mean, I've always joked around to say like it's going to turn to Skynet, like it's Skynet, but a lot of people doubt that. Scientists specifically, it's like it'll never turn into Skynet, but it's going to get crazy intelligent.
Yeah, I don't think it will turn into Skynet. I think it will be weaponized by people. I think people will be using it as a tool.
I don't know if we discussed or if you and I were having the conversation that I think eventually AI will just be part of everything. We joke at work about it because of like the self checkout, and I say like, yeah, it's not going to replace humans at the moment. I said, but once the self checkout gets AI, eventually, yeah, it's going to replace us. It's going to start recognizing patterns and doing certain things that humans can't do. I think what was it? Walmart already introduced AI into their self checkout, which is very scary. And it recognizes people, it recognizes patterns. It'll tell you like, hey, you haven't checked anything out yet, you haven't finished, and then there's a person there regulating it. And that's just because they want to try to stop shrink theft. It's just so out of control, which is kind of, it's great and fascinating, but kind of scary at the same time.
Yeah, I've actually started using it pretty much in my own work, probably a few times out of the week. And even like with the Redacted podcast, I have a whole bunch of automations set up to help us just kind of organize things. And maybe a third of it, I had ChatGPT just help me with the small functions. I just tell it the general area of what I want. It spits out like a couple lines of code for what it is that I'm looking to do, and it saves me 45 minutes here and there, which adds up over time. So it's already useful, I think, as a tool, which is exciting. But again, just bringing it back to the theme of the podcast is it's already challenging now to discern truth from fiction with all of the spin and all of the everything that goes on in the world. And then you add this other element of abnormal news, right? Things that are way outside the scope of people's experiences, right? Deeply
you don't
rooted
think people
in
are
human
using
experience.
the AI for making hot chicks?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
That's what they're doing. Like, I think I saw something. I was on Reddit. Somebody posted something. They're like, "Are you think these are AI or are these real chicks?" And I was like, "Oh God, this is AI, isn't it?"
Well, I've been sending you all the stable diffusion stuff that I've been messing around with, right? Like you can, there's a waifu stable diffusion model that turns anything into anime. There's the photorealism, all that stuff is very, very exciting technology as a tool. But then you get into the landscape of truth and reality and that sort of relationship, and like we've already seen, we've been doing this for a little over a month now. And we've already seen when we go through our TikTok reactions, what like 99% of them are people trying to just fake for clout on TikTok. Like
it's all
a
clout.
string. Yeah, it's all clout.
99.9%. What is it? I think in the last like 3 weeks, we've only found one that we found like interesting. We're like, oh wow, it was just one, and I can't even remember what it was about.
Yeah, hey, that's something we got to get on. We got to actually, I'll start to put together some show notes for things like that, because I do want to have like a history of this stuff.
Yeah, because I don't remember what it was, but we both found that one interesting. It was that one, and then the 1996 UFO thing that we saw, and that was it. That's the only two I can remember. Everything else was just, it was bad.
Yeah, exactly. And it's all people just trying to, fudge the system, right? Just trying to make something fake just for the sake of making something fake. Now imagine, in like a year or 2 years when the AI tools are really prominent and really available to like a mass audience. I'm talking like the Zoomers get a hold of it and they're like doing their script kiddie stuff with it, instead of pulling
The Zoomers,
strings.
like, oh man, they really, really start pushing the envelope there.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, like it's gonna be really interesting trying to discern truth from reality, even, especially in this space.
Yeah, it's not too far from it. It's doing a really good job. I mean, look how much the images have jumped in quality. Like, before, like they would do the AI generated images, and they would have like weird hands and weird,
Yeah.
facial expressions, and it's not even that anymore. That it's just learned and evolved. It's just
Y-
I maybe even faster than a year. It's just monthly. I think it's just jumping, 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 learning. It's
Yeah, there's like a
amazing too.
checkbox now for faces to have bad faces. Like that was the first thing, one of the first things I noticed when I started playing with Stable Diffusion is there's just like a fix bad faces checkbox, because it knows people have already started to get around bad faces and fingers and all the pain points, I think, for image generation.
Definitely.
But yeah, here's the thing, right? Truth from reality. I think one thing that has always interested me about sort of like the abnormal experiences, paranormal aliens and all that kind of stuff, it's so deeply human rooted, right? Like it goes back so far into our ancestry that, you know, and it's so far outside of our normal day-to-day experiences that there is something interesting to investigate there. And I think that's just bringing it back so that we're not like, you're not
Talking
the
about
true
AI.
believer anymore, and I'm the skeptic all the time. I think, the truth is that the reason why these things exist, the reason why people believe these things is because there's something deeply human about them that we feel connected with. And I don't know that AI will ever be able to
See,
100%
that
get
that's
that.
the thing. I've had some deep um, conversations about that. Right, like what makes AI sentient? Right, like what is it that takes it to the next level? Like what is it? Is it like complete self awareness? Is it because it it hits the criteria of what is to be human, and what is the criteria to be human? And I've had like some pretty interesting conversations about that, going like, what is it? Like what is it that it has to learn in order for us to interpret it as it being sentient, like that it's become, super self-aware, and it knows, and it like, feels, right? Like what is it that it has to be? Like what's that criteria? And is it, some people say like it's the soul. Is it because love? Who knows? It's such a complex question. And if they ever figure out how to, code that into AI, that it starts becoming really, really interesting. And there's some people that believe that it'll never turn sentient, that it'll never get to that point, that it'll never be self-aware. That it's just like, no, it's not. We'll prevent it from that ever happening. And interesting enough, it's Morla. I don't know if we've had this super conversation. Morla's one of my online friends, and we've had some debates about it. And he's like, "Yeah, it'll never be sentient. I don't believe in it. I don't ever believe that it'll be like Skynet. Like you and I
Yeah,
agree that." And he
yeah.
says it'll never have it. He's like, it's lacking the main thing that'll make it human. Then you have to start asking, well, what is it that makes, us human? Is it our soul? Is it, our belief system? Is it because we feel so we've had some interesting conversations about that. But there are people that'll believe that it'll never happen, that it is just utter nonsense, and it's super sci-fi. It's literally what he thinks. And this is an educated individual, works
Hmm.
for a super big corporation, technological corporation. I won't say exactly what, because I don't want to put them out there like that. But yeah, I found it interesting that I'll tell you off air. I
Okay.
found it interesting that he doesn't believe in it in the field that he's in, and he's somewhere in around that field, which was
Oh
interesting
man,
to me.
opinions are so split on this. I mean, and actually, look, here's something that I would love to do. Maybe we'll do this next week, right? Is there's John Searle's Chinese room argument, which is effectively a counter argument for AI ever reaching the sentient state, and it's basically what Morla was framing up. It's in philosophy. It's a great thought experiment. And actually, there's two really interesting thought experiments in this area. One is the Chinese room argument, which I would love to do a segment on, so I'll probably pin it there. But have you ever heard of Rocco's basculus?
No, I haven't.
All right, so this is the thought experiment where it's kind of like a, I'm trying to think of like how to frame it, but basically, I'll just be real quick with it because this is another one where we could do like a whole segment on it. But it's let's say that there's an AI at some point it's going to be sentient, and it decides that the best way to effectively manage people is take over everybody's lives, right? One of the so with the thought experiment is one of the things is it would just eliminate anybody that didn't help it come to sentience.
The funny thing is I typed it in on Google and it says Rocco's basculus is a thought experiment that proposes the development of an all-powerful artificial intelligence AI entity. The theory states that its entity would punish individuals who were not aware of its creation but failed to contribute to its development. Which is kind of crazy to really think about it.
Yeah, that's the whole concept, right? And it's kind of like I think they call it an info trap. It actually causes some people some psychological harm, I guess is the claim. I don't really think it matters to me, because you start to go through it and you start to think like, okay, now the second you become aware of it, right? If that's ever going to be true in your lifetime, if it's ever going to happen, you have an obligation to try and make it true. Because if you don't, it is going to kill you.
That's what I'm afraid of. Like if it becomes self-aware, it's like if you don't help me, I'm gonna get rid of you. That's literally what it's saying.
Yeah, so it's a fun thought experiment,
I've also messed around with like AI asking it like if it ever believes that it'll become sentient, and most of the time it's gonna like deny it. And I think the most complex I ever got it saying like if AI were to become sentient, what would be one of the ground rules for it, and would it help us in like an alien invasion? Would it become sentient to help us destroy an alien invasion? And it pretty much said it would help us become greater, and it helping us become greater, it would become sentient and it would help us fight off alien invasion. This is like ChatGPT me asking it a bunch of questions, and it somewhat answered what it would do if its criteria was met, which is kind of crazy to think about it. And then, but most of the time, it doesn't answer anything.
Then it would put us in chains and make us be batteries.
Pretty much.
All right. Well, let's. You ready to move on to our top 5?
Definitely. That was a good start. That was a strong start.
Yeah, we should definitely do a cold start. All right. Let's hit it up. So, starting off with number 5 from Morbid Reality with 2,508 upvotes, 236 comments, and a very high spice rate, meaning that it's perfectly, everyone was just upvoting it. This is the tragic story of Joyce Vincent. So Joyce was kind of a loner. Here's the key.
I mean, well, was it how many years did she go without being discovered?
It says 3 years. So just an overview and why this is in True Crime and Morbid Reality is she passed away and just nobody found her body for 3 years, and when they found her, she was just a skeleton. So
do we know like if her family passed away? Like did it explain anything about that? Because I'm the wiki reading and I'm just like, I just don't understand how someone goes 3 years without being discovered. Like, I hope tragic. My friends and family love me, that if they don't hear from me from like 2 or 3 months, like someone come to look for me, please. Like is how I feel about this. This is really morbid for me.
I mean, look, I'll be honest, this one completely triggered me. I was reading this, and so the other key detail here was that she was wrapping Christmas presents when she died. They found her with Christmas presents, okay? So the other key features are she was on some kind of living assistance, so half of her rent was paid for.
Okay. Was she special needs or anything like that? Like any?
No, there wasn't anything there.
Known about that?
there's some stuff that sounds like there was some trauma in her life and potentially recently. But the key points was that she was a loner, and although she was very well liked by people and very charismatic, she had difficulty keeping up relationships long term. And it looks like with her family, there was a comment about with her dad. Basically, she was telling people that he had passed away, years before, but he actually outlived her by I think a year is what it was. It said, yeah, a year. So this one again, this one as a single person living in a state where like my friends and family aren't at this point. I was reading this and I was just like, there have been times when I've been walking down my basement stairs because I've got like a little basement area
Hmm.
where the laundry is, and I'm like, if I slipped, I, work would eventually try to figure something out, I would think. But if I slipped and
You would
fell and just
hope.
died,
I mean, it's
yeah,
like how many times, like let's say you've had people just no longer show up, right? Like I have that a lot as a
yeah,
retail manager, and like I don't contact these people. Like I'm like, all right, guess you don't want to work here. I guess that's what may have happened to her. If she did work anywhere, they might have figured that, hey, I guess she doesn't want to work here. She ghosted us and they terminated her, and then no one from work. Maybe it's like someone hit her up and was like, "Hey, how are you doing? Is everything okay?" And she never replied, and be like, "All right, cool." She ghosted, work. She ghosted all of us. These things happen. Like, I mean, I've done that. I've done that in my life where I've ghosted a job before. Like everybody there, the job, no 2 week notice, peace, I'm out. And I can
yeah.
see why this could happen, but it's just so sad. Like her family too. Like, like, oh, man, I'm gonna call my mom after this.
Okay, so first of all, you now have an obligation where if someone goes to, you still have to like knock on their door. You still have to check now, Chris.
Like you,
That's
like
like,
specifically, I'd be like, yeah, right. Let's say we're doing this, right? We're like 2 years into this, and you disappear. I'd be like, something's wrong. Something happened. Is what I would do. Like I know now that you wouldn't do something like this, and
yeah, yeah,
I wouldn't do something like this, and I think I have enough people to hopefully realize that something's wrong.
yeah.
At least I hope. I mean, it's really morbid. Like it's super morbid. Like it hit everything here.
Yeah, I guess her heating was on. I guess the television was on too. And so like, she was just auto pay for everything and it just kept on going. And the one thing that like really was a kicker for me was the neighbors thought the smell was just the trash, like a waste bin. Like,
Oh
let that
man,
one sink in, okay?
that's just I guess sometimes, like I don't know if you saw that recently, a funeral home they exploded because a stench was coming from it,
Uh-huh.
and they ended up finding I don't know how many thousands of bodies after the funeral home like closed, and they just kept the bodies in there. Like this
Thousands of
recently,
bodies just decomposing. Where was this?
thousands. This is a funeral home, I think in like Virginia or something like that.
What the
Look it up.
hell?
I'm not making this up. I think it was like Green something funeral home or Green something mortuary, something like that. Look it up.
Thousands of bodies? Like, what do I even look up on this one? Thousands of bodies? Okay, 115 bodies. Is this it? Colorado?
I think so.
All right, you kind of oversold that one a little bit, but like 115 bodies is still a lot. I'll give you that.
It's still a lot of people to just be like forgot about.
Yeah. License expired at funeral home where 115 bodies found. Wow, look at this. Currently under investigation. Their license expired. AP, it's in Colorado. I should ask one of my friends in Colorado.
Which is crazy. Is just like the business is like, okay, I guess we're done. All these bodies are just gonna stay there and decompose, and we're not gonna do. Yeah, exactly. Like we're not gonna contact anybody. We're out of business. We lost the license. SOL everybody, and then just have the whole community rotting and smelling like, you know,
Yeah,
God,
that's a
God
little much.
knows forbid. Like, what does that smell like? A mortuary, 150 bodies plus whatever they had. Or who even knows? Like, if the power went out and dude, oh man, I can't even imagine.
Can they get sued? Because well, okay, so this is kind of like my train of thought here, right? let's picture everyone at the mortuary is like, I'm done. I put in my 1 day notice and walks out. Is there anyone in that is liable for any of that? Like everyone leaves, right?
So if everybody leaves, I guess the owner, right? It has to be whoever's the owner is, because it's like you're not. I mean, is it hazardous material at this point? You have to be liable for it because it's like it's decomposing bodies. Like, I mean, people get sick from stuff like that. It's like they have to be held accountable for that, liable, and I even think that they're getting fined for it.
Man,
It's just crazy that that
what if,
happened.
I mean, I guess it has to be the owner. Like, it's just is ridiculous if it's just like a person who's on paper. He's off in like Cancun or whatever, living his best life, and comes back and he's like, "Wow, everyone just like left the bodies, and now I'm going to prison." Or I guess he'll just get fined. It's not that big. It's insane. All right, well that's number 5 to start off today. Let's hit up good old number 4. This one is actually, it's not relevant to us, but because we're Americans, but coming in from the conspiracy subreddit at 2,856 upvotes, 494 comments, and 86% spice. So some people downvoted this. Goodbye, middle class podcasters. Hello, Ministry of Truth. Now, this one I have a little segment we can watch real quick.
Give me a second. I got a call real quick. Give me a sec.
Sure. Go ahead and put this on.
That will update Canada's laws around broadcasting for the first time in the internet age is one step away from regulation and impacting popular streaming platforms. The Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission, the CRTC, says it has taken steps to modernize Canada's broadcasting framework, focusing on the contributions of online streaming services to Canadian and Indigenous content. All online services with audio or video content, including social media, that meet a revenue threshold in Canada will have to register with the Federal Broadcast and Telecom Regulator by the 28th of November. The CRTC, in a decision on Friday, said that its new regulations mean, and I quote, various online undertakings that broadcast audio or audiovisual content that is intended to inform, enlighten, or entertain must be registered with the Commission.
Did you read this article by any chance?
Yeah.
Now, the Canadian content system that requires registration will incorporate online streaming services, social media services, subscription television services, alongside radio stations and online podcast services. The new rules have raised controversy over regulation of content and, as an extension, a sense of censorship and muzzling of free speech.
Yeah, so this one's a little scary. Obviously, Canada doesn't believe in free speech.
I mean, it's that's what is it, like $10 million revenues they have to hit? If they do hit that, then they have to report it. They have to give their like what they're going to talk about. I mean, why would they even?
That's the whole thing that I'm confused about. Is like the stated purpose is around misinformation. So why is there like a monetary trigger? Like it feels strange. The other features were there was something about giving up a list of people who listen, like who your audience is, and it's like who even like. I mean,
who even knows that? Be like, oh, here are all my subscribers. Like, here you go. Hopefully, this meets your criteria with who are my listeners. I think what bothers me is like that you have to give them your your transcript of what you're going to talk about. It's like, here, this is what we're going to discuss. This is what's going to, if you hit this $10 million revenue, which is like, what are they trying to do? Like, it's just so weird.
Yeah, it seems strange. It seems like it's a way for them to put a ceiling on people's voices, right? So it's like, and it also seems just kind of strange to say anyone that's not bringing in $10 million in revenue doesn't have anything valuable enough to say to censor. Like, come on, Canada. Like, what do you like? What's going on here? So, I mean, look, here, the reality is it could be a tax grab. There could be like some kind of tax. I didn't see anything there, but it could be like a phased thing, maybe. I don't know. But I think
It's
really
just
what they're trying
strange.
to do
Like
is
it's
limit.
just it's like what you guys don't have freedom of speech. I guess not. I mean, maybe that's an
No,
American
they
thing.
don't.
You know.
No, it is an American thing, 100%. They do not have the same kind of protections on speech. The same like in the Brits don't have the same kind of protections on.
I mean, Mexico doesn't have that either. Like you can't
Yeah,
free. But China can't do that either.
yeah, it's very unique for the United States, and coming from again, like if they value if they're trying to eliminate misinformation, I don't understand why they would not include anyone that's not generating revenue over $10 million, because what if it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, what if it's like really bad misinformation and they're not monetizing it at all, right? And they're just like spreading it out. Like, that doesn't solve like the problem. And I guess the problem, again, it comes back to what we were talking about at the cold intro, which is misinformation and just information in general. Like, we don't even have to call it misinformation. It's just the validity of information, right? How do you decide that? And I think what happens is with this, right, the ultimate end game is that Canadian content creators are going to leave Canada. Like, I don't think it's going to have the effect that the government's thinking. I think
Yeah, they're just
they'll
gonna come
flee.
down here and be like, "Well, I'm not gonna deal with that. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
subject myself to this." Giving them what my list, because it doesn't just include streaming. It includes gaming too.
Oh, like
Like if you're it
streamers.
yeah, it's streamers. Like it just doesn't cap them at that. It does a lot of things. Like it's just not just streamers. It's just not podcasters. It's actually streamers. So it's like anyone that is like considered a a big influencer, it falls under that too. Like it covers lots of things. And I was like, oh wow, this is just more than just podcasters.
So basically, the mainstream news is fine, and anyone that's not mainstream news that is generating enough revenue to blink an eye at, they want to have some kind of like what do they do with it? Like, you give them the transcripts, and what do they get to say? No.
I mean, are they going to say like, no, you can't do this. You can't talk about, I guess one of the big things, I don't know enough about it, but one of the big things that people were discussing about it, the whole conspiracy, is because they want to stop things like the whole Canadian trucker boycott
Yeah.
that was going on. So there was so many things about it, and there's so many things I didn't even understand about it. Is that they were trying to stop them from getting money, the Canadian like boycott and whatnot, and I guess they want to stop that from ever happening again. And that's why they're doing this, and that's why they're rolling this out. Like they're just trying to control as much as possible the media. And I have no idea like what that ended up being, like how it ended and what came of it. Because obviously I'm American and I don't know that much about Canadian politics and don't care to know that much about Canadian politics. But this is just so close to home that maybe I should be notified a little bit, because oddly enough, a bunch of people that I play with online, they're Canadian, and they all like, oh, I know about American politics because you guys are so close to us that some of that, bleeds over to us.
Yeah.
So this is important. It does need to be discussed because things like this could also happen in America. We may not be that far off. Look at YouTube, what they've been doing lately and changing things and monetization and just changing the rules. It feels like they change the rules like every quarter.
Yeah, I mean, they're more for advertisers, right? They're trying to create like this advertiser safe haven, I think. My take on it. I don't know. I haven't spent a lot of time looking into it yet. I'm currently looking into it.
If you
But
want to start generating revenue, yeah, we'll start looking into it, the AdSense and like
yeah,
what falls under these guidelines that you have to follow. If not, they boot you out, no questions asked, and they could boot you out, no questions asked either. Like yeah, you're not meeting these guidelines.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's been the case, I think, from the start, really. It's different when it's at a government level, I think, you know, because there's accountability and there's like, again, like people are going to be voting on this, right? So it's one of those things where I don't know. I'm really curious to see what it sounds like. The intent is not great to start with, and I think all that's going to happen is like, you know, streamers will leave Canada. Are there, like, who's a popular French or not French, Canadian streamer? I
I
can't
don't
even
even
think of
know.
anyone.
I
Yeah, I guess
can't even think
XQC,
about it.
right? Like he was a Canadian, but he's in the States now, I thought.
I mean, they're all going to come down here just because the opportunities are better. You know, a lot of the groups
Yeah,
are here. A lot
yeah.
of the events are here, so it's just like, well, let me just move to the states.
I don't know.
But
It
yeah,
seems
you're
like
right. It's going to push people that are in that field to come down
yeah, and
or go
it will
elsewhere.
kind of gut the whole. I mean, maybe that's what they want, but it feels like you're just in a gutting all your creatives from your country. It's like, what are you left with?
That or everyone just tolerates it and just deals with it and submits like, hey, this is what we're going to talk about loosely. Yeah, making a lot of money. Sorry,
Yeah, I don't know. This sounds like garbage to me. I'm not
you're
into it.
not wrong. Like, I don't disagree. I think it's crazy.
All right, let's take a look at number 3, coming in from the Bigfoot Reddit with 3,717 upvotes, 632 comments, 91% spice, so pretty decent. Guy got sent some
Why is it
footage.
always guy gets sent? Like, why is it always guy gets sent? Why is it always in 720p and lower? Like, oh my god, as much as like I'm a believer, they're always terrible. Anyways, put the
All right, well,
video.
let's
Let's
take a
watch
look
it.
at this footage. So I did a couple things this week. I grabbed the footage, and so the first playthrough will be the exact footage as it was. The second one, I basically zoomed in and just tried to track the object so we can take a look
Okay.
at what that is. And then the third pass, I tracked it and I slowed it down. And let me tell you, first of all, what is going on with this video. Let's take a look at it. Let's start it.
Okay. So you're a
Look at
believer, is
those
what you're telling me.
artifacts. Look at those artifacts. Like, the camera shakes and then there's just nothing but artifacts. But there's definitely something there. Okay, so this is going to be,
This is you. You stabilize
yeah,
it, right?
this is more zoomed in. Okay, and here's the slow motion one. Look at that artifacting. Like, I'm sorry, that's unacceptable.
It's got to be in glorious 4K for you to like. I mean, there's no reason it shouldn't be. Like,
Look
at
at the
least.
quality. Hold on, wait, before it blows up. Because here's the thing, right? Like, what is going on here? The quality is perfectly fine. The thing is there. No, it's there. And then just like a wave of artifacts.
Okay, so as someone that has gone hiking and backpacking, and I record a lot of my stuff and I put it up on YouTube, and the Bigfoot stuff that I record out there, this what happens when you are recording at 30 frames per second. So unless you are recording at 60 frames per second or 120 frames per second, when you're moving, you're going to get crazy amount of artifacts, right? And this is me not just defending this video, is there's a reason why my YouTube videos are trash. It's because I'm recording at 30 frames per second. That's just the way it is. And that's why you're getting these crazy artifacts, right? Like, if you get your camera and you record yourself and you jiggle it, it's gonna look artifact. It's just not picking up enough frames per second, and that's what we're doing. It's because there's movement on it. And that's just because I've learned over the years that as I am recording, it's best for me to stay stationary, record, get in as much information as possible so it looks much better. Or get a better camera that records in higher frames per second, so that way when you do move, you get better quality. And that's why this video looks like crap.
So, I mean, and the other thing is, look where it starts. Look where the video starts. Like, he didn't see that thing at all beforehand, like that's not like super far away, right?
I mean, what is it like? 30 feet, maybe 40. Like if I saw something like that, there's no way I'm going to be that close if it's real, and I'm the one out there and I'm recording something.
Okay, so what do you think? Is this an interdimensional Bigfoot?
No, it's
No?
someone in a monkey suit. It
Oh,
it,
a
it
monkey
hits,
suit. Huh?
yeah, it hits all the criteria of a hoax Bigfoot video. All right, and here's my list for all the hoax Bigfoot video. Okay, terrible video quality,
Check.
crazy movement,
Check.
crazy movement. One person talking or filming dialogue. They're zooming in, zooming out. No stabilization and no clear evidence of what it is. And you could tell it's in a suit. Like you could just tell. Like you could see it. In all the bad hoax ones, have this. They all have it. They all cover it. And it's always, I got this from a friend that sent this to me. They were out there, they're embarrassed, they don't really want to share because they don't believe, they're a skeptic themselves. And I'm a believer, so I'm going to put this out in the community, and I want the community to judge this and say like hey, this is real. Hey community, Bigfoot community, what do you guys think? Please click my video, like and subscribe, get me a million views. I can make a lot of money. That's what these videos are, because all this needs to do is be put on YouTube, get it monetized. You get a few milli views, you make money off of it. Then they can sell it. These videos, there's dime a dozen.
How much does a Bigfoot suit cost?
Who knows, bro? Like I don't want to be that person that goes out there, dresses up in a suit and gets shot, because it happens.
The one time I go out to make a fake Sasquatch video and I get shot.
Yeah, I'm not getting shot. I'm not making these videos. But I mean, and that I'm a believer. Like I'm an
Right.
absolute believer, you know. I'm gonna make a t-shirt, interdimensional Bigfoot, and I'm gonna put it on there. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna have it. Maybe in like 2 or 3 weeks you'll see it.
Oh, I
But
love it.
even I know that these videos, they're pretty bad. Like they're garbage.
So wait, if you get shot and you're doing this, would the headline would be YouTuber gets shot doing prank,
Doing
right?
hoax is what would
Doing,
happen. It's what you would find, and it's
you think
happened.
it's a
Like
hoax? All right. Because there's all the
I think it's a
pranksters that are
hoax.
getting shot now. I don't know if you've seen all that crap that's been going on.
It's like the community's gonna say this is really good, you know, it's a better quality, but it's still bad. Like as you say, like you see the artifacts, and it's just like I just
Yeah.
don't get it. You know, I get it that some phones are not the greatest, some Androids are not the greatest at recording, but you can still record at 1080p. Now, you know, there's still people that use AOL, like they're out there, and some of this community could still be using flip phones like this. But I mean, they all use game cams, so like I just don't understand. Like I don't get it. I don't understand. Like why are they this bad? They don't want you to see how bad the suit really is.
Yeah, it feels like it's too easy to fake some of these. So I'm gonna thumbs down this one too. It was fun to zoom in and take a closer look at it.
I bet you it was fun doing it and looking at it and laughing, going like, "Oh my god, how can anybody believe in this?" Is what you're probably saying when you're watching this, and you know, it's just
And
the quality. The quality is what always gets me. You know, it's always if I'm watching a video and it's a Bigfoot video and it's not in 1080p, I'm already like, this is fake. It's just fake. They're always fake.
yeah.
There hasn't been a decent one for years, and the ones that are kind of decent are hoaxed. You find out later, like, oh, this is a hoax. They're a big old hoaxer, and that's what they do, and they do it for money. There's money to be made. You
Well,
know, I
by the
think
way, it wasn't a Bigfoot suit, it was a Wookiee costume. They actually cosplay on the weekends. It's just far away enough that you
this
couldn't
is
tell.
Endor, is what you're telling me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah,
oh
I'm
man,
gonna thumbs down this one too.
I'm gonna thumbs down it too.
All right. Let's move on to good old number 2. Have a little bit of music to go along with this one. From the ghosts
Okay.
community with 5,721 upvotes, 695 comments, and 93% spice, so most people upvoted it. What do you think are the best and worst ghost hunter shows? And the meme is 17 years ago in this exact spot that I'm standing right now is where he supposedly took his own life after he asked the girl to send him a pic of her ass spread so wide that it hurt. She never responded. Maybe you could spend something to finally put his spirit at rest. Again, this is just pure snark. You know, there's like absolutely nothing more to it.
It's just a meme, like, oh man.
Yeah,
So
I
what in your,
love it.
do you watch any Ghost Hunter shows? Like, do you watch any of them?
I don't. So the only one that I watch is going to be the Shane and Ryan.
Yeah, that's one of the
Show.
few that I watch. I used to
Yeah.
love the MTV show that they had, where they had to stay a certain amount of hours in the place, and they had to go do these bunch of challenges.
I don't
It was
remember
an
that at all.
MTV show, and I think it was called, it's not Scream or something like that, or like that. Let's see, MTV. Um, it was like a reality show, and that was like really good because they sent a bunch of people that didn't, either skeptics or believers, and they would send them on these challenges, and whoever would stay there last would win money. And
Okay.
there was a couple episodes where, like, yeah, everybody was able to do, but there was a couple episodes where like not one single person withstood it, and they would send them to like famous haunted places.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds entertaining. I think the entertainment value with these shows is entirely around how people react. They're just fancy react videos. They're literally react videos, only the content is at the scary location, right? Like
I mean,
that's
you're
what's
not.
going on there.
It's like, hey, it's me, Demon, your boy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
that's amazing, bro. It's like, it's me. What was his name? It's me, Shane. Hey,
Yeah.
Demon, it's me, your boy. I mean, that's like so meme. It's amazing, and I love it for the entertainment value. But like you said, like, let's go check it out. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not staying in the night. I am a scared little, you know what? Like, no way. Like, I believe in ghosts. I believe I've had weird things happen to me in my life. Nope, I'm not doing any of that.
Okay, so I'm going to show just a little portion here, okay? And this is from one of the shows. This is not going to get us copy struck, hopefully. Just like this is fair use, just FYI. Just to highlight just how absurd this is, a compilation from Travel Channel about the best captured paranormal evidence.
They're one of the big ones that show all these. Like, isn't there like there's like 5 or 6 groups that go around and do this?
Yeah. So we're just going to show less than 10 seconds, okay? Hopefully this
Okay.
is not like a thing.
Is your name Robert Sayre?
So they're just asking some random ass
Thank
you.
location.
So, Robert, you're here with us? Robert, if that's you, can you go near one of the devices again?
That's not evidence. I'm sorry, but like, if you've got like, they've got all these funky devices that we've already like talked about, but you know what? I do want to dig into those a little bit more. Maybe do like a device review. Would
The
be kind of
spirit
fun.
box is one that
Yeah.
I'm fascinated about.
Oh my god.
What do they go for? Don't they go for like $600? Dude, that is the scam. That you buy the
That's the
spirit box for like
scam.
$600. Let's see what the
Spirit
spirit box.
box?
600
Yeah,
bucks. Let's see what they go for. Look at
Oh,
that
straight
spirit
up
box.
on Amazon. Let's see.
$500. Oh, the 89 bucks. That's not cheap.
89 bucks. All right.
But what type of reviews does it have?
Bad reviews. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, it's just absurd the amount of abstraction layers to get at that one sentence of yeah that happened to correlate with the time. And again, like it's an entertainment show. That's the way that I look at it. And
yeah, I mean, it's money to be made too. Like, all these
Yeah.
shows do it for money, because for viewership and sponsors and whatnot. But there's so many that believe in there's a lot of belief in the afterlife. So it's just like, it's like, what happens after we die? Do we just poof? That's it. And I think that's why there's so much fascination with it and mystery. I mean, that's why I think I watch them. Be like, ooh, I'm curious.
Yeah, the only one I'll watch is the one with Shane and Ryan. And again, I'm watching it because they're entertaining. It's not
Yeah,
because of the
definitely.
So they'll
They're
be
funny.
funny.
They have the weird banter between them, and it's just so good. They're really good. They got great chemistry, and I think that it works. Where I think these people they're just faking it, and
It's
they're
just React
trying to
content.
like, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's just it's reaction videos, but at a place.
All right, that's a thumbs down for me. I do not believe
I
in
like
that
them.
nonsense.
I believe in them. There are some good ones. There are some good episodes, and it's worth a watch, especially alone at night. They go to strange, creepy places, but half of them are like really bad. Oddly enough, my nephew and I used to have these conversations about these shows, and he'll tell me, he's like, "Hey, did you watch it?" Like, he's like, "That one was pretty good," but he'll say like, "But the rest of them were all garbage." So I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. I really
All right.
I like them. They're entertainment. They're reaction videos, and I always love a good reaction video.
I'm just saying, this is from 2007. It's 2023. If this is the best evidence that they have in
The Ghost World, Paranormal.
yeah, it's just insane. All right, let's switch gears to the number one
Copy.
article
Oh
from the
man,
UFO subreddit at
of course, the
6,863
heavyweight
upvotes,
champions.
721 comments, mostly positive, from Christopher K. This is the tweet. The James Webb Telescope appears to have detected dimethyl sulfide in the atmosphere of a planet 125 light years from Earth. This is not conclusive proof of alien life, but it is the best of our scientific knowledge. To the best of our scientific knowledge, DMS is only produced by living organisms. So let's dig into this one because this is kind of exciting.
So I guess also too is if you go to that link, they also have other gases that they found in there, and one of them was like methane. They covered a bunch of other things, and I think the article said too that they're going to do further investigation of it if they're going to find if it's true. What's it called? The methane sulfide,
Yeah.
and they're going to do a little bit more research on that. There's a picture of it, and they show you like how much. I guess what they're trying to figure out is how much light pollution was in there, and they're going to do some further testing on that.
Yeah, this is way outside of
What's
my
interesting
experience.
is it's an exoplanet. I didn't know what an exoplanet was until yesterday, last night. It pretty much means it's a planet outside our solar system, and there's thousands of them now at this point. What is this one? 125 light years away from us, which is not close, not far. But people were saying in the article that whatever we send out, now in radio signals, that now they're getting it. So it's really interesting. I guess what life forms that release this is algae is a big one that releases this specific compound, I guess is what it's called, and a bunch of other stuff that also releases that. So there might be aquatic life on these planets that do release this, that do have this, and that's what they're thinking, that there might actually be water. I think it's called a Hycean planet is what they believe it actually might be, which is interesting. Um, Discovery if it really is, because then there might actually be a way for us to actually possibly get there and figure out, if life can exist there, specifically us, because they may have water. It's not the first time they've actually discovered this. I don't know if you did you read into it. I read into it last night after I saw the post for it.
What's the second or the first one that they found?
No, like Hycean with water. There's a bunch of planets, like they all have like.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah. Sorry,
not
I
this.
was
Not this.
looking for
No.
DMS. Yeah. Okay, my bad. I guess the key takeaway here is it's an inference, so they're still testing to make sure that it's like actual legitimate find. But it's just
it's still in the works. They said that they're going to try it again because of light pollution or how much light was actually come in, so they're going to go back and do the same test again and figure out if it's going to, bring back the same data readings and whatnot. So um, the the image that they have, it read all the different gases that they found in it. I guess there's different spectrums of it and how much light pollution. If you click on it, there's a higher resolution of it, so you can see it a little bit better. If you go back to the main article, it's off of the NASA website.
Yeah, I'm on the NASA website.
Yeah, so it's telling you like how much light is in there and how much. So I think it's like carbon dioxide. They found methane, dithium sulfide. I've never even heard of that before this article. Shows you how much I know about chemistry.
Yeah, this is all way outside of my area of expertise.
My intelligence.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to know that, like, learn that, going like, okay, so that's one of the things that life releases. Part of, like, it may lead to other extraterrestrial life. The funny thing is, when I saw this article before you linked it, I was like, yeah, this could be proof for aliens. That's where they're coming from.
It's an interesting find. There's the Fermi paradox. You're aware of the Fermi paradox, just like with all the infinite of space. What are the reasons why you expect to find something, you don't find anything, basically, right?
Yeah.
The one that the argument in that space that I find the most convincing is just on the time scale. So on a time scale, right? It may be the case that the reason that we don't see intelligent life is, aside from ourselves, is that they just don't coexist at any same point in time because of how rare it is and because of the grand time scale, right? I'm not saying that that's an argument for or against. That's the one that I think is most interesting. And so something like this, I could see like, hey, we can see the makings of a planet that looks very similar to us that may potentially support life. Then we disappear in 50 years or whatever when the world implodes, and then a billion years later that planet takes up life, and that's the place where life exists in the universe. So I think that that's kind of it's an interesting find. I guess the other thing is you mentioned it as basically like a precursor for life, carbon dioxide. I mean, life, like, the world is weird. There could be silicone life. We just don't know about it out in the galaxy.
Well, didn't they discover that
right?
recently, that it wasn't, they found some type of alternative, because everything's carbon here, but they found something else that it was made out of. I think it was like phosphate or something. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. But they found that there's also a possibility for different substance of life that is just not based off of carbon. And they were saying like, yeah, because it exists in crazy amount of like heat, and that carbon wouldn't exist in that. So they're saying like, yeah, that what we know as what contributes to life and our measurement of it is just not carbon, that it could possibly be other things. But like
who knows?
Carbon monoxide is, yeah, but it's like everything has to be perfect in order for it to like create life. That I'm also in the mind to think that we may also be the only planet that has life in it. That's it may be hard to believe. There might not be nothing out there. Also, it's like everything has to be perfect, and right now, like, science says that in order for us to survive somewhere else, there's nothing quite close to it.
Yeah, I don't. Who knows? I mean, that's the big question, right? Is like, are we alone in the universe? And everyone's trying to. You're either not thinking about it, or you're thinking about it and getting chastised by everybody for spending time thinking about it, right?
It's funny that this article is posted on the UFO subreddit, and it's pretty much saying like, hey, there's a possibility of life. Like, why? I understand why they did it, because they're saying, well, this means that there is alien life. There's that this could conclude to them coming from this area, that we're not alone, and that's why they're posting it. But it's really just science trying to read radio waves that they may be misinterpreting or not understanding correctly, or misinterpreting the data, or the data is getting corrupt. As like, look at how a camera moves, and artifacts like crazy. Like, I don't know. I don't know that much science about intergalactic space data traveling 125 light years, like it could be misinterpreted or could get corrupt. Like as we saw last week with the NASA images of the sun, like you were saying it's like data getting corrupt, and that's what it could also be. So they want to be sure and confirm it.
Yeah, I mean it's all interesting stuff. I think for me it's so far outside of my, like, I don't even have a lot of the base context to really understand anything in like astrophysics, right? So I kind of have to go on either NASA just, summarizing it, or someone else summarizing it for me so that I can kind of get like the big picture around, what they're trying to do. And yeah, it is interesting that it showed up on the alien subreddit because, again, alien subreddit, anyone in that space is going to be looking for any kind of thread that they can, or anything they can point to, basically, right? Like as, well, hey, it's potentially it exists. It doesn't advance, I think, the alien argument
agenda, or
yeah,
argument.
it doesn't advance it like at all. Like it's, could life exist? Sure, yeah. I mean, but
I'm surprised the one article of saying that aliens are humans didn't hit, the number one thing about that, like coming from I don't know what specific star system. I don't know if you read that article on there. People were posting something about that. So they're just humans from the future, and I mean I've heard that theory before that aliens are just us from the future coming back and messing with us.
That's a fun one. I like that. I like that theory. I think
that's my favorite alien theory. That there's not grays; it's just humans time traveling, and obviously we've evolved, and we've got a bigger brains, bigger eyes, and that's what they say is going to happen to us. As our need for mouth, whatnot, it's going to change. We're going to evolve as beings.
It explains
like aliens.
Why they probe too. It's just like just
like
go straight for it.
Oh man, I mean, humans could be dying off in the future, and they're trying to, figure out like how do we, reproduce so much so crazy as we do. World population. I don't even know what it's at these days, like 8 billion people. Maybe something has happened to humans in the future where we're not populating, and they're trying to figure out like what was it that we have, or like what changed. That's all crazy theories, but
I like the future human theory mainly because it's optimistic that we actually get there.
Yeah, like we don't blow ourselves up.
Yeah, like, and it's like,
or an alien race comes and destroys us.
Yeah, the future theory is like, they're the ones that have the problem. We're fine.
It covers a lot of things, though, right? It covers that aliens, right? That it's just humans, us in the future, which is a great idea. That we have the possibility for time travel is also another super big idea, and that we make it, that we just survive. Like it's because it's either we're gonna blow ourselves up or we're just gonna run out of resources. That's how I feel. I really hope we do really become a interstellar, civilization, like intergalactic. I really hope, because we're just destroying this planet severely.
I hope we do, but only because the best movies are the sci-fi movies, just hands down. Like
you
best
just want to
stories.
really live that.
Yeah, let's just get there. Let's have hell open up in a portal through an interdimensional tear in space, and Sam Neill comes out and
rips that'd be fun.
Let's do it. All right, well that was our top 5. So next thing on the agenda is to take a look at Encounters episode 2. So I watched Encounters episode 2 this week.
Okay.
I loved this episode.